Welcome to I'm Still Not Over It, the show where we go over those things that pop into your head at 3 a.m. that happened 10 years ago that you just can't get over. Like the girl during Welcome Week who dropped a smoothie in front of an entire assembly, and instead of cleaning up that smoothie, she ran out in embarrassment, and I still cry in the shower about that 10 years later.
Yeah.
Because it's, nothing's worse than secondhand embarrassment. Mm-hmm. Or we might have some episodes where we bring on two people who have known each other for a long time and just never told each other something really important about their life. Or we might be confronting that bitch Veronica that went to your brother's wedding and had a baby 9 months later and still to this day won't admit that baby is actually your niece, even though it's clear you shared genetic similarities. The show's going to cover a wide range of topics, but it's always going to be fun, and it's always going to be stuff from the past, present, and future that we can just not get over. It's like the hangover that hits you at 3 a.m. after drinking Manischewitz at your Aunt Tilda's funeral for the entire day, and it just hits you. That happens to me with J-Lo's dress, the green one.
Yes.
The J-Lo dress
Yes.
that's been recreated 20 times on Drag Race. Today, I have two very special guests, my best friends. We're all actors.
Woo!
We have Teo Rap Olsen.
Yay! Hold for applause.
And Michelle Martinelli.
Woo!
Welcome, you guys. So I'm going to give you a little intro because I think it's important for people to know what you do. So Michelle is an actress and a performance artist. She's done national... Let me start that part over. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to read their intros.
Go for it.
Michelle is an actor.
So you wanna give us a second?
Yeah.
You wanna just listen to the audio?
Yeah, sorry, we didn't check with the fan.
Oh.
Right now, the mic is pointing down, so I'm not picking it up on this.
Then that's, as long as you're not picking up there, then we're okay.
All right.
That's all right.
Good,
Just
good,
want to
good.
make sure we said it.
Okay, good.
Going. Yeah.
I'm glad. Okay, so
1 second.
God, I think my vision's going bad.
That's also very tiny.
Yeah, do you want to
it is.
Do you need to zoom in?
can you do Command plus plus or some shit?
I'm scared.
Do it for him.
Can I?
Yeah.
I don't know if this does it.
We can reshoot the intro at the end if you felt that was not right. Sometimes we're just gonna go to McCarran Park and find friends who are drunk that have undisclosed beef and work it out with them.
Yeah, sometimes you might want to do that because then you'll know what you guys actually talked about. So
Yeah.
Intro that.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we could just do it this way. View. Zoom in.
Dan, are you still rolling or something?
Do you want, is that
That's better.
Do you want more? You just go scroll up and go to view, and then there's a zoom in function.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, we're still rolling.
All right. So welcome to today's episode of I'm Still Not Over It. I'm your host, Daniel Fox Rosen, here with my two best friends. We're all psychotic.
Yes.
We're all actors.
Yes.
And they happen to be fucking because that's apparently what people in a relationship do.
That's
I-
it.
Or do you
Nothing
guys
else.
soak?
We're practicing abstinence.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
celibate at
All
this
right.
point in time.
That makes me feel better.
We have our commitment rings. We just forgot them today.
Okay,
But yeah,
got it. Okay.
yeah. And you have your chastity belt on, right?
Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
cool.
But I
Yeah.
appreciate you bringing up soaking. It's not discussed enough.
Very 19 kids and counting. So let me give you a brief introduction about my guests. We have...
Quick pause. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
don't worry.
There's a LaCroix can behind you.
Oh no!
It's like this Game of Thrones.
I know.
Yeah, clean that up as much as possible. Yeah. Just get your
You can just move.
Sorry,
Yep.
that's a little thing.
Don't worry.
No worries.
After this.
And if you want me to start from the top, like the intro, just let me know.
I think maybe we should probably do that. Just for, yeah, you want to yeah. I mean, intro as far as introducing them.
Okay, got it. Because I think we got
the entire other thing. We can do that again at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, I mean, we can keep rolling.
Yeah, we can keep rolling.
Yeah.
All right,
So
perfect.
just adjust this. Make sure there's nothing behind you. And you should be all set. Thanks, guys.
So, welcome to I'm Still Not Over It, the show that is just meant to bring you pure fun. Today, I am here with my two best friends. We all are actors,
Woo.
which makes us psychotic.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
They happen to be fucking because they date. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, but
Sometimes,
we were
yeah.
kind of
It's a bit of a
taking
dry
taking a
spell.
break
Okay,
from that.
got it. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could try soaking like they do in jury duty.
That's
Yeah.
what we
just
were
like put it
practicing.
in,
Yeah.
Don't move a muscle.
Mhm.
You know.
Yep.
You could
Yep.
even, I've heard in Utah, some people have bunk beds, and then the person in the bottom bunk shakes the mattress.
That's what soaking is.
Yes,
Because it's a loophole.
Yes.
So you're not the ones like if
Have you heard
you're
about
still
this?
absent.
I haven't, but God, that's
oh, no,
hot.
It's a Mormon thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very popular. Yeah.
Latter-day Saint.
Mormons
Oh,
are all
sorry.
so hot. But anyway, I want to get you to know my guest, Michelle Martinelli and Teo Rapp Olsen. Because Michelle is an actor, singer, and performance artist. She graduated from Emerson College with a BFA in musical theater and since worked regionally, toured nationally, and made her off-Broadway debut with companies like American Repertory Theater, Commonwealth Shakespeare Company, and Seaview Productions. Her proudest accomplishment... Let's take that back. Her proudest accomplishment is debuting an original role in a new musical, Oscar the Crown, an EDM immersive dance party musical that premiered in Brooklyn and was about Oscar Wilde, the Real Housewives, and the end of the world. I can't believe I didn't see that
I
show.
can't believe you didn't see it. We
That-
didn't know each other then.
I know,
so I
that's
forgive you.
so of my...
But it's so precisely you that it's shocking you didn't just end
And
up
I'm
there.
hearing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Teo, you want an introduction?
I only came here for an introduction.
Okay, fine.
So.
So this is Teo Rapp Olsen. He, just like me, graduated from NYU with a BFA, and I don't know what the fuck,
That's correct.
because
That is correct.
what the fuck? Acting school. His credits include various national commercials, including a Super Bowl commercial, which my family absolutely freaked during the Super Bowl when that Bud Light commercial came on, starring Teo. He's also appeared in Law & Order SVU and Blue Bloods, Fantasy Island, which I actually still watch occasionally. I like it. I know.
So you're the one audience member.
I don't know if you've ever seen. That's not nice. Have you seen your episodes?
I have.
Okay, cool. And but most recently, he was the main antagonist in the last season of The Walking Dead. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about there because that's like a huge production.
So I've heard.
And like just booking that with one tape, which is how it is in COVID, must have been crazy for both of you. Like,
Oh, God,
because
yeah.
how long you were gone for 6 weeks?
Oh, I was gone for months
No,
and
it
months
was
and months.
months.
Yeah.
It was
like in and out, but I mean, it was
Yeah,
like
it
from
was
May
on-
to
And you shot in
December.
Atlanta, right?
Just outside.
And you would go sometimes.
I only went once when they were on hiatus just to visit him because he was in and out
It's just too
for like
busy.
3 weeks at a time, probably on and off for 8 months.
Yeah.
So when they had a break, I went down there for 2 weeks just to spend time with him. But yeah.
Now, something I've noticed is that like people are so in to those Juggernaut series, like The Walking Dead. It's like the same thing with social media. Like on my TikTok, people really think they know my personality just from like the stuff I post. I can't, and I also only auditioned for psychotic people. Like I think the only time I said I love you in sides, it's like I love you, so I'm gonna have to like
Wear your skin.
Yeah.
wear your skin
Yeah.
or like put my hand up your asshole, grab your heart and pull it out
Cut you
and
into
keep it with
pieces.
me
Yeah,
for
totally.
life,
Yeah.
you know? So, did you feel like going into that role was, I mean, you still do fan conventions for it, where you get a lot of like feedback. Do you ever get scared because people just think you are that psychopath? Which honestly, Michelle,
I just opened my mouth and it came out. But no, I've been exceedingly lucky in terms of like fans knowing the difference. But like when I first got on the show, like some of the series regulars were like, you might need to get off of social media. Some of them do because they haven't been so lucky. When people can't differentiate.
I was definitely worried when the original plot line, I don't know if we can say, but was you killing the lead cat.
So that's from the comic books.
Yeah.
Okay, so they changed things up, but like you still went into that thinking you were going to kill off this beloved character, Rick, and I think that would have been really ugly for you. It's kind of like King Joffrey from The Walking Dead, like insane. People really could not differentiate.
Oh, yeah, for him, that was terrifying.
Yeah, I remember like after the Tribeca Film Festival, I'm with my agent and manager and the director of the film at a restaurant next door because it was during COVID. So our movie was like first time Tribeca Film Festival came back.
Aren't they doing it like on the roofs or something?
Yeah, there was an outdoor theater.
Oh my
it
God.
was like a huge setup, an audience of like 500, and I'm sitting there. I hate watching myself on screen, and I'm just like, and my manager's like, "You're the one getting all the laughs, like, it's great." But like some woman came up to me and she was like, "Wait, did you play Milton?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was me." And she was like, "No, you seem so sweet. Your character was so insidious." And I was like, "Oh, like, yeah."
Like an actor.
Yeah, kind of like an
Who knew?
actor who, does their job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think with social media and social media stars, podcasters, they get it worse unless you're in a role. Like, I'm sure you've gotten that, Michelle, at the stage door where people just see you walk out and they're like, "Wait a minute. You're different."
Well, I think we saw a real shift in the industry in like the mid-aughts, like 2005, 2006, when reality TV really started to blow up. Like that's when the Real Housewives franchise started, I think.
And do you watch The Real Housewives?
I've watched some of it. I'm not a dedicated fan.
Because it pisses me off that like Teo just like shuts down all my passions, and I feel like I cannot.
Trash?
Like, he purposely will pretend he doesn't understand something, even though he knows exactly what I'm fucking talking about.
I literally don't.
Yes, you do.
No.
He doesn't
Dumb.
consume that part of the culture. I have a love for
But
reality
when I'm
TV.
explaining stuff to him about like, oh no, like, like the UFO thing, which we're going to get into. Because like, I can't.
What are they called now? Because it's not UFO.
UAPs.
UAPs. Which stands for?
Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. Phenomenon.
All right.
So yeah, no, because that's something I'll never get over, UFOs, and it's such a brain fuck of what's like government misinformation. But also, like, the housewives are such an important part of pop culture, and they are themselves on that show, but they also know they have to keep a job.
A produced, dramatized version of themselves. And so I think that's what's created confusion for audiences as far as, like, is this person playing a character? Is this person being themselves? Is this person an actor?
Yeah.
I think, like, in our popular culture, those lines have become a lot more blurred. And so there is more confusion around, like, is this actor being cast in this role because they basically are this character in real life and they're similar to this person?
I mean,
thankfully that's not the case with Arteo. He is nothing like his Walking Dead character. But yeah, it is something that's interesting and does get conflated a lot.
But I will say I've met a few of the housewives because I used to get invited to Bethany Frankel's like skinny girl events, and me and Rena, my friend, we have to bleep Rena. Sorry. And we went to this party and they're shooting. So like we get there, we had no idea they were shooting, and we're like, we can't sign release forms. I was with a bigger agency at the time who would have been like, no. And they weren't even that into me in the first place. There was like 2 agents on the team who liked me, and the other was like, those kids are shit, which is like the worst scenario as an actor, to be with like an agency that the full team doesn't believe in you.
Well, that's the like downside to being with a big agency.
Well, I learned that the hard way, and it's like, I don't know though. CAA, call me up.
Do you want to bleep that one out or?
No. No, I was never with CAA. Just a disclaimer. It wasn't CAA. Not going to say.
All right. We won't say which one.
Yeah. But I was thinking, like, you know, it is hard to understand The Housewives, like a series like that, because these girls are making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't start making money until season 3.
That's the thing, is you have to invest a lot of money into being
Throwing
on
the
that
parties
platform.
where drama happens.
Really?
But
Oh, yeah.
The drama is real because they know they need a placement on this show. So basically, like, I'm not over this. Like,
And
they
you don't
literally
see a return on that investment until you're on the show for like 3 or 4 seasons. So if
Yeah.
you only last a season and you're not popular, then
You know,
you're ending in the red.
I think Bethany Frankel's contract for coming back to New York was like $2 million for the season.
What
And
the-
it's wild because the thing is like, they are those bitches. Like, I can tell you firsthand.
But do you think like some of it is put on, or you think it's like truly just this?
There's a part of it
I mean,
that's put on where it comes to like, okay, I heard a rumor about Robin's husband cheating on her, and I'm gonna expose this at the worst time ever because I need a place on this show. It's not manufactured drama, but it's drama that never needs to be said in a way. But to keep these shows interesting and to keep their placement on the show, they have to like bring it, you know? They have to bring it every single time and every single season. So like you can tell when somebody's struggling to come up with a plot line. In the death of a housewife is when they fake something.
Yeah.
Because the audience knows. But Ramona Singer, you are a bitch. Okay, you are a fucking bitch. I know I love you still, but like you're just not a nice woman. And I can't ever, I don't care, but I can't. And Sonia Morgan, so much fun. She hit my weed pen at this event. Ended up, she wasn't wearing underwear. Her dress went up to here. She had to be carried out by like 6 security guards, and I was like, I cannot believe this.
What I love
They didn't
about
end up-
all this is I have no idea.
I was gonna say,
any of
You have
these
no
names.
idea what we're talking
No,
about.
you could be making up these
So
names.
Sonia Morgan used to be married to like a JP Morgan relative.
Gotcha.
Right? She still lives in this townhouse, but of course, since he's like a billionaire, he
Yeah.
found a way to like cut her out of a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. And she is hilarious. Like she's just pure fun. Sonia is one of those ones that has such a personality that like for her, there's always going to be a storyline because her life is just, you know, she can't let go of the past. Like she would be like, there was another housewife who was related to like the Kennedys, and she was like, I remember like hanging out with John, and the other housewife, Carol Radziwill, was like, don't talk about my like fucking family, Sonia. Like that you don't know them. You were not on Jay-Z's yacht. You know, like I don't know where this stuff lives in your mind, but like a part of like making a good housewife is being delusional.
Gotcha.
Me myself, I'm trying to become more delusional.
So you'd be a great housewife.
No, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where I was approached about a reality TV show that I was like, I can't do this.
Why not?
Because everything would have been fake. They were like, we're going to put you up in like this super nice penthouse to make it seem like you're super wealthy. And this is when I wasn't making any money in acting and my real estate business wasn't picked up, but it was supposed to be the spinoff to Rich Kids of Beverly Hills. And it was going to be Rich Kids of New York City. And, you know, ITV Productions was like trying to put together this show. And I think I just was like, nope, that is not me. And like, I have other talents. I would rather shine and not like fake some bullshit for a reality TV show. Like that just doesn't feel, like if you follow me on TikTok, you know I like authenticity. Like that's what people latch on to. And like, although like my on-camera personality might be a little different than what people expect.
Yeah.
Because I have horrible social anxiety, as you know. I just don't go outside. I'm an indoor cat. So, with all that being said, let's just jump into The Walking Dead. Because I think there's so many questions that people as fans, even if you didn't watch the last season, that they have. Krill, Danny? Jacob?
I like the Walking Dead video game, but
Okay.
Which one?
Is it a good video game?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a video
They
game.
wanted to make me cry.
Oh, do you have a
That's
character
what I've
in the
heard.
video
No,
game?
no, I wish.
Oh, man.
No. No, the Telltale games were like these, choose your own adventure. Like, you could make the decisions.
Okay.
But your actions had, very serious consequences.
I mean, I know Last of Us. Look what happened with that.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
also is an amazing video game.
Yeah, I heard. I wish I need to get back into playing video games because I could use another addiction.
Yes.
But, I want you to kind of paint a picture of what it was like, both of you, to paint a picture, being like, my boyfriend just submitted this tape, and the next day he booked this role, and this is how it is now, which is amazing. Like, I remember we would go in to a room 2 or 3 times, there's screen testing, and all this shit that they're no longer doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think start at the beginning, maybe what the audition process used to be like pre-COVID, and then what actually happened during COVID with Walking Dead.
I mean, as you said, obviously most things were in person. You would get flown out to LA if you're doing a test or something like that. I mean, really, there was self-tapes were, they happened, but they were definitely the less common of the two.
And can I just add, me living alone and being terrified of COVID. I was that bitch who was like, the world is ending. Nobody believes me. You're going to be inside for 4.5 years. Trust me. No one believed me. And that's what happened because I am psychic.
Psychotic or psychic?
Both.
Got it.
Both, so don't fuck with me.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, and I think basically, what was I just saying, by the way?
Oh, we were talking about what the audition process
Okay.
looks like pre-COVID. Because I'm thinking about the people who may not know what that process looks like. You usually auditioned in person with a casting director.
Yeah.
You had callbacks.
Exactly.
What screen testing means was it would be...
They would test your chemistry with somebody else they're thinking of.
Yeah.
And it was very nerve-wracking, but what I found most hard for me is I just signed with a new agency, was getting tons of auditions, and this was before my whole Little Health incident, that I had to use a line reader app.
Yeah.
It was me on my own reacting to my own voice. So I'm recording the other person's dialogue and it picks up on your last cue word to say the other line. And it was so frustrating. Unless there's somebody else to help you, just set up the camera, press the button, and actually read the lines for you.
We moved in together for self-tapes.
Really?
No.
Okay.
It was a major benefit, but definitely having someone
key to a
else
healthy
for
relationship.
self-tapes during lockdown was incredible. So, as far as your audition process,
So obviously, again, everything's now no longer in person; it's all self-tapes. Also, during the pandemic, obviously, is the lowest statistical chance I think any actor had of booking a job, just because there's less work than ever
we
before.
have friends who ebb and flow, and it's this is their moment now, but then it'll shift. And I've never been I think we work with a lot of people that view other actors as competition, where I never feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm not.
I mean, it's an unhealthy. There's a lot of unhealthy aspects to this business. It's exceedingly insular for something that's all about connection.
Can you define insular?
Insular, let's do it. It's inward. It's. I mean, you are by yourself, and you are your own company.
Yeah.
And
I'm not over the fact that I just learned a new word today. I've heard it before, but I wasn't completely sure on what it meant.
But the idea just being that, you are the only one who's aware of your own stock in terms of how you feel you're doing as an actor, what's going on. You rarely even know what casting thinks of you until either you book the job or maybe you get a callback, that kind of stuff. And during self-tapes, it's less than ever before, because at least back in the day, you'd be in a room and maybe there's some amount of communication and connection with the casting director where you're like, regardless
Which
of...
I loved,
Oh, yeah, of course. But regardless of if I book this job or even get a call back, I know that casting liked it. Outside of that, I can't control anything else. Maybe I just didn't look like the part. Maybe they already cast the mother and, she's blonde and they don't buy it.
Like, there's so many things out of our control.
Yeah, yeah.
So keep going with, like, this self-tape you got and the length of time, because it was
I mean, it's
quick.
one of these, especially the self-tapes, they're normally like a day or two, and...
You have a day to prepare, usually.
Yeah, and this is one of these
same
ones
day.
where I was, at the time, not even really acting. I was working on 2 city council campaigns in Queens, which is like the most local of the local, city office.
Love it. Give me a zoning variance.
Bring you in on that.
Yeah.
So literally, we taped this thing at like 10 p.m. or something.
Yeah, it was really late because you got the tape really late, and it was due like the next day or something
Of
like
course.
that.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah.
But like tomorrow.
Yep.
So it was like 10:30, and we were working on it, and I remember us both being really frustrated because we were exhausted, and
But sometimes that's the best way to act.
yeah.
When you just don't give a shit and you just like know your part and you just let it flow.
But it's so antithetical to the idea of like wanting a job. Because
Yes.
you want the job, so therefore most of the time you do give a shit, and by the very nature of giving a shit, it's going to be harder to get the job.
And you have to find a border where you give a shit, but at the same time you don't. Because like it's heartbreaking when you get far into an audition process. Like I've had a few, and they go with someone else. I've learned to just be like what you said. It just might be something, I know I'm hard to place, and I'm so glad recently I've gotten the chance to really like. People assume by my personality that I'm only going to be able to do comedy. Like now, I'm better at. And I think comedy's harder than drama.
Yeah.
And,
I think once you become good at acting, it's going to just soar for you,
Exactly.
too. Yeah, I think that's when it's going to be great.
Oh, wait, was that a dig that I just fucking missed? What a piece of shit.
He's just messing.
No, but to your point, I think one of the hardest parts is the letting go and not giving a shit. I mean, I remember this was like early after leaving NYU and like getting a play and doing like 3 rounds of callbacks and finally finding out I didn't get the job. And I was literally in the car to DC to pick up my sister, and I had like pull over to the side of the road and just like cry for a minute.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, all right, that's a part of my life that I've been like fantasizing about and anticipating, and like that would be okay if this would change everything in terms of just like all of a sudden this is what May, to September now looks like. Is it's going to look like this versus coffee shop.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so hard. And I think, like, I remember auditioning for, when I auditioned for, like, Ryan Murphy's show, who I think, like, Ryan, if you out there, like, I love Cody Fern, but, like, I can do what he does. And now I'm scared because we have mutual friends, but I don't care.
He might kill you.
He probably would.
Yeah.
But basically, like, I remember sitting in the Fox, and this was for a pilot of the spinoff for 911 Lone Star, and I had auditioned for guest roles on different one of his shows, but it's like a different ball game going into Fox Network, auditioning for Clint, getting like mic'd up, and like I'm in the waiting room. And my audition is for a cop, okay? A cop. And my manager is like, it's Ryan Murphy world. Like anything is possible.
Yeah.
But I walk into the audition room and everyone is so fucking ripped. And this has happened a few times, and like hot as fuck. And I'm just like looking around and I'm like, oh my God.
Doesn't it make you feel so good when you go to the room and everybody doesn't look like you and you're like, okay, I think
You're like,
they
I
might
was
have
the
a type.
Well, no, I definitely did not make me feel good
No,
because
it's terrifying.
I'm just like, hot people are hard to compete with.
Yeah.
Because if they're less talented than you, but like are hot as fuck.
Hot take here, fuck hot people.
No, fuck hot people.
Fuck 'em.
Because I'm not over that.
No.
The opportunities that are thrown their way.
Oh my God.
Nobody's really offered to like pay me for sex.
Yes,
I would
exactly.
love that.
That's the issue.
I did have
The
an
lack of
offer to
payment.
send some feet pics.
Well, you were famously saying this is like a market. Is like, don't show your feet on.
Oh, feet?
Yeah.
I'm actually breaking my own rule by not wearing socks right now. Yeah.
No,
I always say
don't
give them
zoom
away
in.
for
You
free.
haven't made it. You haven't made it until you're on WikiFeet.
Is that a real site?
Are you kidding?
Yes. You don't know about WikiFeet?
No.
Of course, it's a real
man.
site. Oh my
Googling this
god!
after.
See, these are the things that like I just don't understand how we became friends. You know?
Why are we friends?
I don't know.
For him to teach you.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
This is a mutually beneficial relationship.
But you've helped me with auditions, and I think it's important to note that, like, as an advocate for somebody with dyslexic and neurodivergent people, that you still get a scene, which is a skill, and you know what your job is in that scene, and you know exactly how to interpret that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, me, I'll read it 30 times and be like, oh, I get it. And then I like I send in the digital tape to my agent,
Yeah.
and they're just like,
Like,
no,
what the fuck was
like
this?
your character was actually the person, you know, like, and I'm like,
yeah. Telling you like
oh my
what?
God, how did I miss? But once I have an understanding of the scene, it always helps. And for people that are getting into acting, like, there's like 3 things. It's like, tell the truth, show up, do your job, and like, forget about everything you learned and just be in the moment, because everything you learned is inside of you. I don't know if I've learned a single thing from going to the best drama school in the country, you know, and it's insane to think that in a program like NYU, you get no preparation for the industry.
Well, a lot.
Until you go to Stone Street, which is why I transferred.
You touched briefly on like dyslexia, but a lot of what you've been able to accomplish, because you learned how to advocate for yourself and like, I need extra time, or
Yeah.
If you
Go ahead.
wanna speak on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I you know, it's funny. I was literally just at a school talking to kids with different neurodivergent issues and challenges, and something that really hit me is that for any kid that, you know, is diagnosed with one of these things, you are facing arguably one of the biggest challenges of your life really early on, like at a very, you know, critical point. And conversely, the one...
And you have no comparison
No.
to know, like, what it is for other people. to
Well,
walk through
unfortunately,
life,
you have the comparison of all my friends are not having an issue in school right
Yeah.
now. So, like, I remember talking to my mom and very seriously asking her, like, am I stupid?
Same thing here, because I had to get extra time on tests.
Yep.
Like, I was one of those people, if I didn't understand a question, unless Lisa Volpatti, our resident genius in Pittsburgh, was willing to literally switch our tests, like, because she would finish a chemistry test in like 0.2 seconds and just do my test and match my handwriting.
I was going to say, did she get her handwriting?
But like, because she would see, there's times like she's like, you know how to do this, but there was one question I didn't understand. I would not be able to get past it.
Yeah.
And I could never get over that. So I would sit there on question 2 for 3 hours with a blank test. And once it got down to the 15-minute mark, I'd have to just fill in the bubbles with a pattern that I thought looked cute, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, and then I went to see this counselor that was like, you have some learning issues, you're a fucking dumbass.
That's
and
what,
like
yeah.
I
Sounds like a
read
good
the
counselor.
report she wrote to the school to like asking,
Yeah.
and I was like, I called my mom, I said the same thing. I was like, it literally says in here I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Am I stupid? And my mom was like, no. We just had to make it sound like as drastic as possible. But I was like, well, everything in there is the truth. So like, why? You know, but I came to learn
but the
everybody
issue
has
is just
different strengths. you
Yeah,
know?
but also, I mean, to get macro here, education in general isn't really designed as it is for people that learn differently and think differently.
And it's not designed to teach you how to even live in the real world.
No,
They didn't
God,
teach us
no.
what a credit score was.
No!
Probably should have done that.
I remember at this moment, talk about something I'm not over, in like math class. And I was in like the math class for kids who are clearly not going to do anything with math after this. and we were learning about like how to measure the volume of something, like a bathtub. And I remember like we finished, and I was like, hey, I'm just real quick, what am I using this for? Like, what's the plan? And she's like, well, like, if you need to measure the volume of, like, I don't know, a container. And I was like, doesn't it normally tell me what the volume of said container is? And if not, like, couldn't I just, Google this? And there was just a pause. And she was like, just do the homework. But, like, to your point, we didn't learn about balancing checkbooks. We didn't learn about just, like, basic financial stuff. The other thing is, like, as silly as this sounds, home economics, just as a whole, like, class. I feel like that was something they taught in the 50s, and it feels bygone. But I just don't understand why you wouldn't do a class on, like, just how to run a home.
Yeah, they not only didn't teach us, like, the basic things we need for, like, life.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just like, wow. I went 8 hours a day to do what?
Fuck school.
Fuck school.
Fuck hot people and fuck school.
Fuck hot people and fuck school. We're not over it. You could just.
I agree on these. Okay. I might leave you guys alone on these ones. I like school. I like hot people. Controversial opinion.
Okay, so let's finish with your Walking Dead process and how long it took for you to find out that you got that role, and when you had to leave, and when you were on set.
So we taped it.
So we
that
taped
night.
it that night, and famously, I love to tell this part of the story. We're taping that night, and we're frustrated. It's like we're not in the right groove, because Teo's wonderful in that he really invites me into his creative process a lot, and so it's a very collaborative.
That must be nice.
It's beautiful. It's very collaborative when we tape together. But that night we just weren't jiving. It wasn't going well, and I was making him do take after take, and I kind of.
I know Teo wouldn't like that.
Yeah, and I kind of was just like, look, you're not going to be happy if you turn this in the morning.
Yeah.
So we're doing it again, and we did it again, and then finally landed on one that we were both happy with, and that was the one he ended up submitting.
Thank God for you.
No, seriously.
I don't want to take credit, but I kind of want
Like, you booked that.
But I basically booked him.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have unless the turnaround's super quick, like my manager and agent both will look at the tape
and tell you
before
those
it's
things.
submitted.
Yeah.
And usually, since I was doing them by myself with the line reading app, if they needed me to redo it, I'd be like, it's not.
Yeah, it's not human.
I just can't.
Yeah.
But that is so interesting. So you get the call when?
So the other part was I had talked to my manager about legitimately having one foot out the door just because of acting, because it had never been slower. It was as I said, statistically, this was the least opportunities you were going to receive, and also the A-list actors at this point were willing to do B-list work, B-list to C.
Know.
And what happens to the F-list actors? What are we going to do?
Exactly.
But so I definitely was just under the which the good news was, I think there was also talk about not giving a shit. There was kind of a point of look, just go in and have a good time, because odds are you're not getting this job.
That's how I go into every audition now.
Yeah,
take control of the room.
Yeah, enjoy it, because this might just be the last time you play
Because I think
this
NYU
part.
scared the shit. At least Playwrights Horizon and even Stone Street, when we'd have agent showcases, they would make us feel like these people that we had to go in to get jobs from were the scariest people in the world. You can't look them in the eye like this, they only like to be winked at once, not twice. Just giving you all these complexes that you're no. Now I'm 30-ish, and you just got to go in there and take control, and it's your room for that 10 minutes.
But that's so much
ask
easier.
The questions you need.
That's so much easier said than done. I mean, I think that's something you have to learn by doing versus something that you could even get in school necessarily.
Yeah.
Obviously you can get your reps in, but there's a certain level of just I need to be in a room enough times to realize what worked and didn't work. And that could take years of doing those kind of things.
Yeah.
And, with this one, I think especially just also being at home doing the self-tapes, knowing that you're going to receive no feedback whatsoever other than, getting the job, that you kind of have to just do that, because once you hit submit, at most you're going to get a message from your agent saying, got it, we got the tape, that's the last time you're going to hear anything. And so with this one, I think it was 2.5 or 3 weeks, and it was clearly in the mix for a while. They were going back and forth with my agents.
So you were getting feedback, they like you.
So my manager didn't tell me a word, because we had just had this conversation, and she was I don't want to give you any false hope, because I could tell you they really liked it. And then
my
you were sitting
manager's
there.
so different. He'd be like, "You're gonna get it," like
I mean,
and I'm like,
in other previous times, she would talk to me about it and just be like, "Hey, just so you know, like you're in the mix." But especially because we just had that conversation, she's like, "I didn't want you to have one more reason to just be like, well, screw it, like I didn't book this job." So they only called me when I booked the job, and I was famously violently hungover. And
that was the day of my Alec Baldwin audition.
Isn't it always?
I threw up the Adderall I took right before. That was like my last. I only had one Adderall left. I'm so fucking hungover because my friend Alana's in town, and I have the call back for that class.
For Alec Baldwin's class, yeah.
And it was like this master class he taught with a few people from NYU.
Yeah.
And I was so hungover to the point where they were like, "What about your second monologue?" I was like, "No."
Oh, they're going.
Welcome to I'm Still Not Over It. Okay, you guys. All right, we'll get back on topic, and then I'll tell you this later. So, you book the role. You find out after a couple weeks, and you know that things are looking pretty optimistic. Like
I only find out when I booked it.
Right,
So-
and then you book it, and how long until you're on a plane?
So this one was actually pretty kind because there was like Fantasy Island was legitimately like a day or two later.
Yeah, like 2 days later.
Yeah, it was like I found out on a Monday. I was flying on a Wednesday.
That kind of job would be best for me.
Yeah.
Just because like my mind and my psychoness at night, I would be up for 3 weeks if I knew I had like this insane shoot that's like coming.
I love nothing more than a job that hasn't happened yet because how many times do you as an actor like hear from people like, "So are you working on anything right now?"
And you're like, "Yeah, The Walking fucking Dead.
I
Heard of it?"
Kill for a job that never actually happens, but it's just always.
So
in
you
the
just always have
future.
an answer to
So,
what's
exactly.
next.
There's always something because otherwise it's like, no, nothing whatsoever. I'm sitting at home freaking out about it. But thanks for asking. That's great. How are you doing? Do you have a job? Oh, you're a doctor. So
It's
yes.
the worst as an actor when
Yeah.
people are like, "What can I see it?" And it's like, "Nothing, bitch."
Well, and I get it.
Well,
like
it's
you
such
don't.
an innocent question.
I know,
they
but
want
I
to
know.
be
It's
supportive.
Like,
yeah.
You don't know what like to ask, which is valid, especially 'cause
true.
most people.
I'm just a bitch.
You're a bad person, but most
Yeah.
people work, some sort of a 9 to 5 where they know what tomorrow looks like. They know what next year looks like. In theory,
Yeah.
I mean, barring some unforeseen things, you have a pretty good idea of what your life looks like. Whereas as an actor, you don't know what next week looks like. You don't know what tomorrow looks like. You don't know what the rest of the day looks like if you get an audition.
I should check my email.
Yeah,
should.
I know.
literally.
But I remember auditioning for Fear the Walking Dead, the spinoff, which I don't know if it's still going.
It is.
It is? It really?
Yeah.
So I auditioned for that heroin addict who's withdrawing from heroin during the outbreak of a zombie apocalypse, which I can relate to. I
Yes.
used to have an opiate issue. I would be withdrawing all the time. Thank God, like, we were, still got to be careful, but we're past
No,
that
but good on
phase.
you.
And I, had to become more responsible because of the health issues I've had.
Yeah.
Well,
You know.
opioids are. Because you were prescribed it first. And
Yeah.
That's the terrifying thing is that like you can be prescribed it for a very valid medical issue, and especially only recently have we really started to go. You know what? Maybe.
But it's too, we'll talk about that later, but
yeah.
it's too much, it's too rigid.
Yeah.
Where the people who need
Alright, gotcha,
them
gotcha.
are now like when I was getting my treatment, I
Yeah.
had no problem getting anything I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I have prescription ketamine upstairs. All these institutions are now like, "Oh, we'll prescribe you gabapentin for pain," and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that makes me suicidal.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Do you want to give it another try?" like,
No.
no.
Thank
What about
you.
what I just said?
Yeah, so I think they have to find a middle ground.
Yeah.
Because there is definitely
For sure.
people who can't live their life
Yeah.
without being on the proper medication to manage
Yeah.
pain. And we see an increase of suicides, we see an increase of I started buying pills 8 years ago, 7 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, and it was after I went to rehab. I somehow relapsed, and I was buying pills off the street, from a
Don't they
friend I
say,
had
like,
in the
I mean,
project,
you have
and it
to-
was all fentanyl,
Yeah.
and I got addicted within 3 days.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. Well, don't they say that like most people have to go to rehab several times to like actually fully kick?
Yeah, so I did cold turkey for my other times where I like got addicted to something, which was like the worst because rehab is like we can do a whole I'm still not over it rehab edition because I have some stories about that. But you're on set when after you find out?
First off, I loved that segue. So this is one where you found out like actually with 2 weeks or something before I had to be on set.
Nice.
No, yeah, which was nice. And
Rehearsals?
So no, I mean there's literally just the reading of the episode a week or several days before, and then you're going to set.
And then you have the walkthrough like on set, and
Yeah.
and you guys didn't have like it's such a big budget that it wasn't like okay it's time for Teo's close-ups, like all the coverage is there.
Oh yeah. I mean they're running 3 cameras all the time, but it's also just like
3 cameras.
we're here, we made it.
Yeah.
We clearly made it. This is The Walking Dead. Sorry.
They still shooting.
No, not film. They were digital. But I have shot on film, which was when I learned what check the gate actually means. And that was a fun lesson.
Explain.
Check the gate is what, so they always say this on sets, once they've like finished, a take from one angle, but before they want to actually move on, it's a way to like confirm. Back in the olden days, you had to say this because there might be something on the film itself or in the camera lens, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but that would actually screw up the whole film. And so therefore somebody has to actually open it up and make sure with a light. Am I correct?
Yeah.
All right, ballpark. But yeah, so this to make sure that this film is actually usable. Otherwise, we'd have to, clean out the camera, put in the film to start over again.
Yeah.
Obviously, with digital, you don't have to worry about this, but the term still goes through. It's like rewind.
Yeah,
right?
and I know it's
we
so
don't actually use it.
expensive, like shooting film. It's like crazy.
Well, isn't it the case that it's actually now it's become cheaper just because?
I mean, it's a debate.
All right, is that what it is?
Because with digital, so much hard drive, it's
Yeah.
then you have to do like.
Well, I thought it was also just that like the cameras themselves are not as like for like TV rentals and so on, because there's like such a demand for digital because by now it's gotten so good that I think there's like less and less demand for film.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but The Walking Dead was filmed at the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know when they made the transition.
No, but you gotta buy the film, you gotta do the processing.
Oh, yeah, no.
You don't know what it looks like until
Yeah.
you send it back.
And I think it went from like a show with like 12 episodes a season to like 39 or some shit like
You
that.
gotta be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so our years at NYU was the last years that the film students had to do any work on film.
Yeah.
So they had to, literally, cut film and all that kind of stuff, which they don't do anymore. I mean, they're completely trained digitally, which I understand, but I do think there was also some kind of like lesson to be learned from like take your cuts very sparingly, because obviously if you're using Final Cut or any of those things, like you can just do whatever you want.
Totally.
But to The Walking Dead, so you're on set, and I was scared shitless, and I'd been on tons of sets before, but this was
you're
definitely
walking into a cast that has been on the show for what, 10 years?
12 years.
12 years.
12 years for some of these people.
Yeah.
And yeah, just walking onto that and just the scale of it. I mean, again, like my first day, I'm seeing, I'll never forget seeing like somebody in full, zombie makeup and an N95 mask on, which was a very, weird sight for like, we need zombies to be safe. They got to practice distance. But yeah, and then, because like literally my first day was just like literally one line. I just had to do one line.
What scene
walking
did
by.
you shoot first? Was it the one with the weapons and your
No. So it's the first like way my character gets introduced. He's a pompous, what's the word I'm looking for? Like elitist. I mean, he looks like he is, a lot like myself. But he looks like he would be hanging out in Martha's Vineyard. Is probably the best way to put it.
You're wearing pink shorts.
Yeah, I was
gonna
looking
say.
down at
Botany shorts.
but they got
So
the
when we
crew.
said
I
you
got
got
the
like your
crew.
character,
I know.
But yeah, casting really does miracles there. But so it's literally like I walk by some of the main characters and I think I comment about how they smell and like walk off to be like, oh, the plebs. And then the next scene is like the next day, which I have a bigger one where I get like popped in the face by one of the main characters.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun. That was what kind of set the tone, because that's where like I actually got to meet people, because when you're doing these shows, you're also just like flying by the seat of your pants.
Totally.
Even on something like that where it's this big budget. So
well, it was also originally only supposed to be a 3-episode arc, and then it
Yeah,
got extended.
It became like what?
Yeah, by the end it was 8.
Yeah.
Which was
8
amazing.
episodes.
But there's also just a sense of like, I don't want to get kicked off the show.
Yeah, no, like I know when you get that script and you're like, oh, you died.
Yeah.
I auditioned for this character and I booked this role, and it was like, I think a movie with like Eric Roberts and Dylan McDermott, and it was a lead role. This woman, Donna McKenna, casted it, and I was like, my manager called me like right after I left the audition, was like, they want to see you back like tomorrow, but, and I was like, what but? Because I loved this role. It was like this surgeon who was forced into being like an organ harvester to save his daughter's life. The only way he could get an organ for his daughter or some loved one, I forget exactly who it was by working for this facility. But then there's this other character who's just like this complete psychopath who loves working in this underground like organ facility, like plays with the blood and will like be like, you know, taking intestines and just like wrapping it around his neck like a scarf. And I'm like, don't tell me. I'm like, they want to see me.
Yeah, for that part.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck. But yes, at the same time, like, yes.
Obviously.
Because like I was looking at like the other actors that were going in for that. Again, just a room of like beautiful hot people. I remember one hot guy looked so good. He like dressed in full character in doctor scrub and had the nicest ass. And I was like, I feel like the audience will empathize with him more. But actually no, I feel like they would empathize with me more as like the character. And it was a really emotional scene where he's like, I want the fuck out of this business, and he just like loses his shit and is crying. And then they were like, oh, nailed it. And I was like, oh, yes. And then I get brought back for the guy who's like lures a Girl Scout into like his house to tie to a radiator.
Mm-hmm. So what's the psychotic part about that character?
Well, maybe you won't be able to like understand
it. That's valid. That's valid.
But yeah, I think that's really crazy. Like you just never know in the industry where it's going to take you. And I want to get to Michelle because I feel just how I feel like I'm 3 chromosomes away from Timothée Chalamet. Like we have the same body, but like he's considered hot as fuck. I don't like find him hot. I know he's an attractive person, but you know, I don't thirst over Timmy Chalamet. Mm-hmm. And like I feel like I'm 3 chromosomes away from being like a good singer. Like you have an amazing voice. Like you were born with that talent. I feel like you can't be taught the way you sing. I know you've done a lot of technical training, and I couldn't imagine having to prepare for a musical theater audition.
Oh my God.
Dancing, singing, the acting.
Yeah, it's just wildly different because I've gone back and forth between both worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not obviously to the extent you two have, but I've done some like auditioning for film, TV, commercial, and I've done a lot of straight plays, just dramas.
Oh my God.
And the difference between even auditioning for a drama and auditioning for a musical is so huge. The difference between rehearsing a play and rehearsing a musical is so huge. It's probably twice the length of a rehearsal process.
Yes.
I love rehearsing a play.
But
I'm like, all I have to do is memorize lines. Great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But it's still with theater, no matter what, I feel like you have 10 days of rehearsal, and on your 8th day, you're like, this is going to be a shit show.
Yeah, always.
And you're just crying. Like, you're like, I can't do it. Like, I was in this show called Cocaine, where I was like this boxer who ruined his life to doing drugs. Relatable. And not the boxer part. But I literally, like, had a meltdown. Like, and then it just, like, comes together, and once I'm actually on stage, I'm like totally at home, and I still get a little bit of that feeling when I'm like shooting something, like, but it's nothing like with live theater. Like I'm in the wings for live theater every time, and I'm like, I'm gonna shit my pants right now. Like literally, like I look at the assistant director, I'm like, no, like I'm gonna shit my pants.
Yeah.
And
you gotta go on stage. You're opening the show.
Yeah.
And then once you get there and you're in the flow, you know.
I think that's kind of part of like theater is there's always the like aspect of just like, is this going to work out? But to your point though, I mean, musical theater I think is also like, that's a sport.
It is.
I mean,
yeah, it's athletic.
It's so athletic.
Especially I did a couple touring shows, and touring because you're traveling while
Yes.
you're also performing. It's just another level of being in shape to perform and then keeping in shape while you are traveling.
Yeah.
Because hotels are drier environments, and you don't notice that until you're singing every day. And then when your vocal cords are dry, you can't hit the same notes you normally hit. So I have to travel with a steamer. And
That's my friend Nick Walker, who's in Hamilton.
Yeah.
He is like, I have to do this every day.
Yep.
I remember you
know?
explaining that to me, and I was just like shocked because then I was like cut to me at like a hotel for like shooting a film, and I'm just like, all right, guys, like should we go out for some beers?
Yeah,
Like, this is
yeah.
Such a good
Oh
day
well,
on set.
that's exactly that. Like my diet has to change.
Yeah.
I can't drink. I
Yeah.
can't have
Oh
coffee.
my God.
Like
That's gonna drive
I
you
can't
out.
have any of those things because it is going to change my physical chemistry, and then
Yeah.
I will not have the stamina to do if
Yeah.
I'm doing 2 shows a day or even 3 shows a day on some schedules, depending on what our schedule is wherever we're traveling. So that's really, really hard. I don't know. I mean, don't quote me on this, but life on the road is exceedingly difficult, and I
Yeah,
don't know
I can
how
imagine.
many years of that I have left in me because it's a whole nother level. But
Oh, yeah.
even if you're stationary, even if you're here in New
I-
York,
it's so
doing
much
an
work.
8-show-a-week schedule, like that's a very athletic thing, and you
Yeah.
do have to make sacrifices. You might not have as much of a social life because
Yeah, like none.
you have to maintain a certain level of physical fitness, and your body is your instrument, and you have to use it consistently. Not saying that film and TV actors don't do that, but it's a
No,
more
we're lazy as hell.
Yeah,
We can
but
call
also
it
the
It's a
that.
set
casting
period
crew
of time.
become like
Yeah.
your family,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you like work your social environment
Yeah.
into like your relationship
Yeah.
with them, especially the crew. Like whenever I have a hairdresser, I find out everything. I'm
The
like,
goss.
Yeah, I need the goss.
Yeah, you definitely look like somebody who needs the tea.
I need
Yeah,
the tea.
we have that too, for
And-
sure.
Yeah. And like I just think that's a part of it where you're like this family, which leads me to like working with somebody that you don't jive with sucks.
Yeah.
Now, should I say a name?
Say name.
No.
Don't say a name.
Tommy Dorfman.
There we go.
He's on 13 Reasons Why. I'm sure I know actually Tommy has recently transitioned, so I think she's probably a whole different person. But when I did this short film with her called In My Skin, I don't know what it was, but I just could tell.
Do you feel
and I
like
never had that experience. Like he didn't like me. Like he wasn't. And it was like we were shooting in Woodstock, New York, at the abandoned IBM factories, and like I was supposed to play. I think it was because I was supposed to play his role, but then I had a lung collapse and had to like. And they ended up like pausing production, and then I ended up I dropped out of the project. I get a call like 3 weeks into healing, and they're like, "Well, I have a nursery on set. There's another role. We just want you to play this role." Of course, the motherfucker gets cut out, and I'm like, this scene's gonna get cut.
I wonder though to what degree that was also this person responding to the fact that you were very comfortable in your body.
I thought about that later, and I think that must have been what it was. Tommy, no hard feelings. I saw you partying with Troye Sivan and Selena Gomez in LA. I'm sure you're lovely now.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Calling people out.
Yeah.
Watch the next thing I auditioned for.
Be like Tommy Dorfman film.
Yeah.
That's a healthy way to start.
But
episode.
honestly, maybe it'll bring us closer. Not that we were ever close to begin with. But, okay. So, I think, like, we got to get into some fun shit.
Yeah.
Because, like, this might be interesting to acting people, but, like, oh no, I think it'd be interesting. Like, you guys aren't actors. Do you find this interesting?
But I'm in film, though.
Yeah, you're in
That's
film.
fair.
But do you find it interesting? Because what if you're like, I'm in film and I still don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about?
Like, this kind of sucks.
But I
All right.
think, yeah. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk to you about fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
I know you want to just talk about poppers.
Yes.
But
Famously.
we'll save that.
All right, cool. We'll hold off on the poppers.
Who out of the three of us would survive a zombie apocalypse or be the last to die?
It would definitely not be me. We've talked about this, unfortunately.
I think you would die pretty early.
I would die very early.
Aww.
Probably would sacrifice myself. Listen, I have no interest.
You need a man who can like protect you.
No, well, no, I don't quite lean into that.
Yeah.
It's just like,
No, I don't think it's about that. I think you would just be too worried about like the dog. Like, oh my god,
Yeah.
you saved the dog. And I'd be like, fuck the dog. Like, it's over. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I love the dog, but like,
Let her go.
well, no, I think there's a certain level of like you just got to detach and be like ready to go. Not that I've thought this through intensively. I have.
Yes, same.
So two things. One, if the military stays in place, which is a big if, and it also comes down to what kind of zombies are we dealing with? Is
Exactly.
it
Are
Walking
they
Dead?
clickers?
Are they? Yeah, exactly. Are they clickers? Are
Slow
they
walkers?
World War Z zombies? Because those guys are like getting over the walls of Jerusalem, right? That was terrifying. Then we're done.
What happened to Marielle Anyos? She's such a great actress. Do you remember from The Killing?
Yeah.
And she was in World War Z.
Yeah.
I miss her. Marielle.
But big thing, your family is already in Colorado, but I get to Colorado.
Yeah,
you got the mountains.
That would be my.
And you got enough libertarians who have guns. Befriend a few libertarians who have a shit ton of guns and get to mountains.
Yeah. So even though I'm not the best walker or mover right now, I feel like it would be me. Like I would be the last to die. Yeah, because I know the shady people. So I would immediately be able to get us a weapon. We need guns. I'd barter a way to get those guns.
Yeah.
No doubt.
100%. I would be like, I sold a bunch of real estate, and here are like the projects. I have like some buddies over there, and I would be like, yo. I will give you shelter if you bring every single weapon you can.
I'm just invested in the quality of life, and if I know my quality of life is
true.
going to be eating jerky for the next 3 years, in a bunker, then I'm not in. I'm out.
Think about the food part.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think there's something different about a zombie apocalypse because there's still you have a certain level of control. I mean, obviously, a lot is out of your control, but I just mean that you are trying to fight against something versus if a bomb, a nuclear bomb goes off, I don't know. I'm the guy who's running into the blast. I don't want to deal with that afterwards. I want to
growing a second nose.
Yeah, or just I remember somebody being like, "You live in New York City, that's the bad place for a nuclear bomb," and I'm like, "Yo, if the world is ending, I don't want to live in the fallout shelter."
I don't want to see how that plays out.
Shelter.
Really?
Maybe.
What are you gonna
Depending
do
on
there?
the people that I'm with,
You're gonna be in there for.
I might want to be in the fallout shelter.
No, that's your life. You're not getting out of that.
No, but it's maybe one day.
No, there's no maybe one day. Nuclear radiation.
I would be optimistic until I'm okay, there's no fucking hope that.
Hopefully, I'm not in it with you because I'm gonna be like, do you know what the half-life of this shit is?
I know. Well, I'm pretty good with viruses and how they spread.
Did you watch Chernobyl?
Yeah, I did.
All right, we're done. You're cooked.
My mom was covering a nuclear, I forget where it was, but she was on the scene.
3 Mile Island.
I think.
Yeah, PA.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm very into nuclear.
Yeah, so she
Tara has a real vested interest in that.
My mom was a news reporter. That bitch stayed. The network was like, we don't want anyone here. She was like, I'm getting this story.
I believe that.
She just
Badass.
stayed the whole time as they were didn't know if it was going to blow up an insane explosion within 10 minutes,
Yeah. It's
Oh my
Geiger
God.
counters are just going off the rails.
Oh my
Which
goodness.
brings us to aliens because I'm sure they're the ones who protected us from that because they're obviously interested in our nuclear weapons. And I just want to say, remember in the past few months, they've been we've shot in 5 unidentified objects out of the sky, and then there's no follow-up. They're we're searching for the material.
All those balloons?
Well, they said one was a balloon, and then
Gotcha.
the rest, we don't know. I'm guessing a lot of them were balloons because they upgraded radar technology and people really think that these UAPs and UFOs are just a American thing. So not the case. We just don't consume media from other countries. One of the most credible one, besides the Nimitz and David Fravor and his whole crew seeing the Tic Tac, when they were on the Navy ship in the U.S. would be Rendlesham Forest. Before this was, and this has been on.
Where is that?
It's in England.
All right, gotcha.
And there's a U.S. nuclear military base there. And I have to play you a recording of like.
Can I ask one question though?
Yeah.
So, aliens, like they have figured out.
Well, we don't know if they're aliens.
All right, but whatever this thing is that has the ability to, I mean, because if I remember with the Tic Tac thing, it's like not just that it's like a flying ship, but it's like it could move in ways that like gravity doesn't allow you to do so.
And a lot of physicists are now saying we might have the wrong understanding of physics. There might be a whole new law of rules that like apply, you know?
But like, if they could do that, like, aren't they past the point of nuclear? Like, don't they already clearly have a fuel source that's like more impressive than nuclear? Boom.
I like blanked out.
So you have these ships that have the ability, I mean, if they are aliens, if they are from another galaxy.
But the most terrifying thought is
it another
is
country?
a private organization who basically runs our government through like the military-industrial complex.
Are we getting to like the one world order?
They have this technology. Whoever has that technology is in control of everything. And I'm also like very open-minded. Obviously, I want it to be aliens, and I also think like maybe they were here before us. Like, did something just fall out my?
No, you're good.
Like, maybe they were here before us.
Well, all right, so
You know, maybe they live in Antarctica and those caves that were like tunnels and tunnels of caves, and they just have a different genetic makeup. Maybe they have a base in the bottom of the ocean.
see, this is why we're
Maybe
friends.
it's fucking Lockheed Martin.
So
you know?
can I? All right, just to interject, hot take. I think I would say I would believe aliens before I believe it's like some world order shit.
I think so too, because like I don't know.
Well, my issue is that I think you're giving humans way too much credit. I think we're pretty freaking stupid.
Here we are.
My case and example is Epstein. Like, if, you know, people are like, oh, like 9/11's an inside job. I'm like, do you think enough human beings would like keep that a secret?
Yes.
I don't think we're that skilled at this.
That would have leaked to like page 6 within 2 hours.
Exactly. I think there's things where it's like, no, when humans do some cover-up shit, like, I mean, look at freaking, like, Watergate or something. They were caught in the hotel. They were getting paid out of the, like, campaign to re-elect the president. Like, people are morons. Even the people at the top. Like, they're not that smart about these things.
I know.
So that's where I'm just like, I could not believe that, like, Lockheed Martin would be able to create this stuff, and you don't have one person there who's, like, drunk at a bar being like, I created the Tic Tac.
Well, there are, like, not stories exactly like that, but, like, basically the thought is if you're part of these because obviously we know they are in possession of materials that they don't understand. They've openly said that. Whether it's a psyop and they're just trying to distract us, which would be unlikely at this point, like, there's something we don't understand. And it's not a new issue, but since upgrading our radar, there's been a lot of these objects detected, and I just think it's really weird.
But isn't
that
it-
they're like, we shot down, and like the pilots that shot down like the one over, I think, Canada were like, this was not a balloon. Like, this was being intelligently controlled, and like, they ended up shooting it down, which usually you hear like of these stories where like a bunch of F-18s are following these things, and they're like, you know, you want to start a war of the worlds?
I love
So
that
I'm
you
pretty
say-
sure like they had to be certain that this was human made for them to shoot
Like,
it
shoot it
down.
down.
Because if you guys are going and fucking with our little aliens, probably our makers, we're all fucked.
I mean, that's fair. Look, I'm skeptical.
I know you're skeptical.
wasn't
That's
fair.
okay. All right, I'm gonna make up some lies for you. Actually, I mean, some are gonna be true. You have to decide what's a lie.
All right.
Okay,
what's the truth?
it's two truths and a lie, or it's
Kind
just
of.
you're saying anything
It's
and
a
we're
shit
deciding
It
if
kind
this
of
is
like
true.
that, but it
Okay,
might just
great.
be like, you don't know.
Okay.
Could be all lies, could be all true.
Okay.
Okay,
Hit
we're
us
ready.
with it.
Okay. An octopus has 3 hearts, one of which shuts down when they're swimming, which is why they prefer to like walk at the bottom of the ocean instead of swimming, because it exerts too much energy, and one of their hearts is just like, I'm out.
I feel like that's half true.
Well, I was gonna say, because don't they have like, isn't every tentacle like its own
Yeah,
brain or
every
whatever?
section has neurons in it. I know that.
Yeah, I would defer to you on this one.
Yeah, I do love an octopus.
It's true.
Yeah,
An
I was gonna
octopus.
say, I feel like-
If we want to know about aliens, study them
Yeah,
octopuses.
I'm gonna say that's true. I think.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Valid.
The human penis can be stretched up to a flaccid human wiener. Can be stretched up to 18 inches before it snaps off the body.
Have
Is
you,
this
have you
while
tried this?
I mean,
important clarifying question. Is this while it is attached to a conscious human being?
yes.
Okay. I say that's false.
I'm gonna go with
I think
false.
that's a lie. Yeah.
It's true.
What?
I know.
I'm gonna need some
Who tested
sources
this?
cited.
Who was like, I can definitively tell you it is 18 inches.
I tested
It is not 19 inches. That's for sure.
I think it also depends with how-
I want to see how much your penis can stretch.
Does it also depend how long the penis in question is prior to stretching?
Yeah, what if it's
No.
a micro? Even with a micro?
It's the fact is for the average size penis, which is pretty
Gotcha.
small actually. When
Yes.
you you know, it's not like everybody's walking around with a prosthetic schlong like you see at Theo James
In
and
the-
White Lotus.
in the
Yeah.
movies?
You know, that dick was nice.
It was
Yeah.
fake. That was a lie.
That was fake.
That was a lie.
100%.
Yeah.
You could tell. It was too perfect. It was too straight. It was too just.
It was a forearm. Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't like those Hills Have Eyes penises.
Yeah.
What's the show about again?
White Lotus?
White Lotus.
No, this podcast.
Yeah.
Nobody fucking
Honestly, anything that I'm not over, but like usually.
Which in this case is Theo James's prosthetic
Yeah.
penis. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not over Theo James's prosthetic dick, but I bet you, Theo, if you're listening, if you're a fan of this show, I bet you have a great normal dick too.
That could stretch up to 18 inches.
Yeah, that was a lie.
That was
I
a
made
great
that up.
question.
That
very
was a
valid.
false fact that I made.
See,
All right,
that's,
so it's not
yeah.
true.
Not true.
All right, yes.
No, you cannot stretch your penis 18 inches. Nobody do that. It's like Trump being like, maybe if you stick some bleach up your ass and ultraviolet light to kill the virus, you know?
Yeah.
I
And when
remember this
people
well.
did that, please don't stretch your penis.
Yeah.
You know,
You don't
can
need a lawsuit.
helicopter it around a few times.
But no
if you need
stretching.
to stretch it out, don't stretch.
All right, good to
Yeah,
know.
leave
Good to
that-
know.
leave that
I was
be.
going to go to
Yeah,
the
we'll
bathroom,
save
but...
that.
Yeah, let's like,
right, let's-
do you want another
Yeah.
fact?
Yeah, what is this?
Okay, so they thought they spotted a mermaid off the coast of Japan in 2018 and put $200 million into a program to find said creature.
I think that's true.
Who? Like the U.S. government, the Japanese government? Japanese got 200 million?
Mm-hmm.
You said true?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with false just to like have opposite ends of this.
False.
Yes.
Made it up.
I respect the Japanese too much.
Yeah, and I know.
Maybe if you said $2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
2
you said
million.
2 million.
Well, I'm also like
I
those.
don't know, those Japanese, they have money.
Yo, but those motherfuckers create like crossing sections of the streets. Like what's that one crosswalk that they have? Well, because
I
like
wanna go
normally,
to Japan so bad.
Well,
That's
normally it's
something
like
I'm
you
not
just
over.
do
The
like
fact that I haven't
one and
been to
two.
Japan.
But like they have like diagonals as well at these like major
Oh,
crosswalk
yeah, yeah.
sections. So like when people are crossing, it's just like. No, I love that ruthless efficiency. I'm all about it.
I would have smoked weed.
Just in general.
Like now.
All right.
But like, you know, it's the first episode. I feel like my manager and agent, my agent wouldn't give a shit.
We've recorded a lot. Maybe let's finish and then.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty good stuff in, but I remember specifically just going back to acting school for a second and why. If you don't have the money to go to like a prestigious acting school, don't sweat it. Sign up for a class, get as much practice as you can. Because honestly, I remember being in NYU so fucking stressed out with feeling like I had no preparation for entering into this world. And that's something I'll never be over. Like NYU being like, Tish, the best drama school is like, what?
What I
You know?
what I always say about like acting programs is Did you ever like do any of those like card collection games like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, any of those
No.
things? All right. Well, so I've seen some nodding heads here.
So, crew.
Comic books for me.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, but what I would say with like anything where it's like a game attached to it, you could go out and just buy packs of the things, but you wouldn't necessarily know what cards you needed. And
Yeah.
there were the starter decks, and they weren't the best cards in the game. They weren't going to be the cards that you were going to play with in like a year, but they were just to be like, this, you can go play the game tomorrow. And I think
Gotcha.
University is a starter deck. And what you really need is to go out and buy the packs. And there are people who could do that. And I don't think I necessarily like had the emotional maturity to know like, oh, I'm going to get a restaurant job and just take classes at these
I mean,
studios.
becoming a real estate agent was my worst nightmare. Like literally, I was like, well, I don't want to work at a restaurant anymore, but like, gotta make something happen.
Yeah.
Let's live my nightmare. But I remember specifically learning that Jennifer Lawrence, when she was nominated for an Oscar, is our same age.
Yeah.
And she's like in an interview being like, never took an acting class in my life.
Yeah.
Parents drove me out to LA when I was like 13 to follow my dreams.
Yep.
I hate how they're always like, I was such a nerd in school. And it's like, bitch, no, you weren't. Jennifer, you were not a nerd.
You were just naming names today.
I know. I mean, what's the chances I'm going to work with Jennifer Lawrence? But Jennifer, come on the podcast.
on the
I actually
podcast.
really do like her. I think she's extremely talented, extremely pretty, and I'm sorry I ever said anything negative about you 10 seconds
I was
ago.
literally going to say it 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I am a huge believer in getting a higher education. I just think we have tried to institutionalize art and teaching art in an academia-based way.
Which doesn't
that-
work because your teachers end up wanting to like, fuck you.
That doesn't necessarily best serve people who are actually
Yeah.
trying to work in the industry, because the industry changes and evolves at a much faster pace than academic curriculum can evolve in tandem with. So the stuff I learned in school, while interesting and really valuable in regards to like musical theater and
Yeah.
auditioning
Well,
for
yeah,
musical
you had
theater,
a very technical,
very
like,
difficult,
training.
yeah, very different experience.
I had to like pretend to be an ostrich for an hour and a half of class. Not even joking.
Well, I
yeah,
did
yeah.
a lot of that too, but it was all 20 years outdated by the time I graduated school and actually started auditioning. I was like, oh, everything my professors said is actually
not-
no longer
yeah,
true.
Yeah,
applicable.
or
And that's
you have-
not because they weren't incredibly knowledgeable and wonderful, but it was just because they hadn't been auditioning in enough time
Yeah.
that the industry
Yeah.
had changed
It's
quickly
like
enough.
when you had an actor teacher who was working, like Rachel Chavkin was one of my teachers. I learned probably the most from just acting in scenes that
Yeah.
she directed. And Ted Sliberski, who like knows the industry, he knows what casting is looking
Yeah.
for. Those things, but even then, coming to like the Stone Street program, it was so crazy to me how few people got called in to get represented by agents.
Well, and just for clarity for the listeners, Stone Street is like the on-camera
Stone Street
studio,
is the on-camera studio.
and
yeah.
it definitely has a heavy focus on like the business of the business. In a
And
way
like
that a lot of-
actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about Alec Baldwin. He really gave us a sense.
yeah, of like what the reality of
Yeah.
this thing would be.
Yeah, there's a real difference between like learning the craft
Yeah.
and learning the business.
Yeah.
And I feel like college programs are, or at least my college program was almost exclusively like 85% the craft and 15% the business.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you graduate, it is 95% the business,
Yeah.
5% the craft.
Well, not to mention
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But also when you're training in such a theater-focused program, who like all the teachers frown upon, like film and TV.
Yeah.
Like it's like, but how do you expect us to make any fucking money?
Pay my bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like really, you know.
Going to jail, Alex?
Sorry, is he still going to
Who?
jail? No,
No, they
they're
dropped the
they're
charges.
no, and they're finishing the film, which I don't know. Yeah, they
Who?
went back to shooting Rust. They're shooting Rust.
Oh,
now.
Russ. Yeah, no, Alex fine.
But like, I feel like that's
I'm
gonna be the
gonna
most
just
awkward
stay quiet
first
during this
day
segment. I can't.
of like coming back to set. Where like everyone's like, so,
Well, that was part of the civil settlement.
but like,
Between
is
the
it
family.
is it the same crew? Like,
No, I don't think they brought that
I feel like
non-union
there's,
crew
but I feel like
back.
there's one person for the old crew who's like, hey man, a job's a job.
As much as I want to talk and say things about like Hilaria,
Hilaria.
that accent, I like Alec. Alec,
Yeah.
I love you. I always have. let's just not talk about that.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I don't know. He
Let's
follows
skip that
me
one.
on
But
social
going
media.
back to drama school.
Wild non sequitur. But we were on hiatus from Walking Dead when Rust happened.
Yeah, and you work
And-
with tons of guns.
Well, and so the first day back, we had a firearm in our scene, and it was just such a weird, I don't know, feeling on set because obviously everyone's like, all right, remember, this has to be fake. And luckily, that is a show that has never had an issue when it comes to firearms.
Thank God.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and there's that Australian company that makes the
Yeah,
completely fake
yes.
guns that pop and they flash.
Yeah.
They're more expensive, but they cannot physically harm someone.
the issue is that it is so much cheaper to take a real gun and turn it into a fake gun.
Which
I mean,
is
not
insane.
fake, but
It's
like
not
take.
a prop.
No, but obviously, again, you could make it back into a real gun as they did on that show. Now, obviously, on a safe set, you have an armorer who is worth their salt. Like Walking Dead, that armorer had 20 years in the
Yes.
Army Rangers. Like he's not
The
fucking
Rust
around.
Girl, nepotism armor,
second
and
job
like
ever.
also just obviously, I mean, my theory is she took some of the crew out to shoot with those weapons.
Wasn't that what they
were
said? I mean, they
using.
had bullets in it.
They had bullets.
Yeah.
To have a real bullet around any set is insane. Even I had to shoot myself in the head for a show I was in, on a play.
Yeah.
And even with this rubber gun that cannot be loaded, cannot be like
Yeah.
anything, there is an armorer still
Yeah.
who comes with it locked up. I and him are the only one allowed to, or her is allowed to touch it. And
They have to prove to you every single time.
They have to make sure somebody's not going to switch that shit out.
Well, and they have to like literally just give you an example, a demonstration of the fact that it cannot possibly be a firearm.
Yeah.
But like every single time.
And in honor of your character, that little fucking psychopath,
Yes.
and every character I auditioned for, I feel like if I saw you in an audition room, I would just leave. I was like, oh, damn.
As I'm like, hey Daniel.
Yeah, gotta go.
Quick battery change while you're
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
In honor of your character on The Walking Dead and every character I auditioned for,
Yeah.
I feel like you gotta get in on that psychopath.
Yeah,
typecasting.
that's shockingly not really what I go in for. I would love to. It would be a
But
lot of fun, but
It's
Fun for you.
definitely weird finding like a heart for that character. But anyway, I've always been fascinated with how you hear about those two girls who tried to stab their best friend to death because Slender Man told them to. Lori and Chad Daybell, David and Louise Turpin. How do these people fucking find each other? I can barely find someone to like come on a podcast. Like obviously it must be, I mean, I think it's like the law of
Well-
attraction because this was happening even before the internet. And then there's also like people who can manipulate other people into like,
But to what
A thought
degree is
process.
it like one person that has manipulated
Exactly.
the other into doing it?
I
Versus
think
like the two are
that's
both
what
equally.
we see in like cults.
Yeah.
But for Lori, Chad Daybell, and especially the Murdoch family,
Yeah.
all of them,
You think it's, like,
fucking
across the board?
psychopaths. Like their names are linked to way too many deaths that happen in their community, and they've gotten away literally with murder for years because
Like both of them?
all of them.
All of them? I
Pretty much.
honestly
There's
don't.
accusations that the two boys, Buster and
Well, if you
the one
name your
who got-
child Buster.
yeah, you're a fucking. And the way they testify, like people from the South, like you're on fucking stand, and you're gonna be like, yeah, me, man, and Papa, they didn't like playing with the dogs much, like mom, me, Meow, and it's like, we're not liking you more because you call your mom Meow, you weird fuck.
Meow?
Like the way, yeah, it's like you know the nicknames people from the South have for
That's
their
like
parents?
Reagan calling his wife mother.
They're like, Mimi! Like, and like Alex Murdoch was like using those. He was like, oh, Bus for Buster, and then Paul for Paul.
So just repeating the like name.
Yeah, just like their nicknames. And it's like, okay. Just because you call your son a nickname doesn't mean you didn't shoot him in the face 3 times. But after you learn about what happened with their nanny, who died at their house, and he did the most atrocious, this is what I find to be the most despicable thing of Alex Murdoch, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, felt sympathy for Maggie Murdoch at first until I learned a few things. I think what I learned is that these white motherfuckers who have led the entire, like their family for like the past 30 years, or no more, I think more, were the prosecutors and the judges in that district. They ran that town. You can't touch a Murdoch. So Paul Murdoch, one of the ones who was murdered, his friends were begging him to get off behind the wheel of this boat that they were taking home. And he ran it straight into a wall. His best friend's girlfriend flew out of the boat and wasn't found till 5 days later. They didn't even let the family members of that poor girl who lost her life that day onto the scene, but Paul and Maggie Murdoch were there when their son was the lead suspect, that he was going from room to room in the hospital trying to get everyone's story consistent, and even tried to blame it on another one of his friends that they were driving the boat, which is 100% not true. And then I learned that Maggie, there was never any consideration or heartbreak for this girl who died.
Yeah.
It was all about the perception of their family.
Did you watch any of the like documentaries?
Yeah.
Is it like?
It's good.
Is it on Netflix?
There's a Netflix one because there's also a murder of this openly gay high school student. I'm blanking on his name. We're gonna put it on like post production. We'll edit it in.
Yeah.
And put a picture of him. But he was murdered like on the street. Like his car was left on the side of the road.
Yeah.
The only names that people were throwing around who they thought did this were Buster Murdoch and Paul Murdoch. Untouchable. But getting back to the most disgusting thing Alex Murdoch did is their housekeeper of years and years and years, who basically raised those kids, fell down the steps and died. He originally said, up until about a week ago, I think, that she tripped over the dogs and broke her neck and died. She was in a coma and then died. Now, he's admitted that she did not fall over the dogs. So, what happened? TBD. I think you fucking pushed her, you psycho asshole. He convinced this poor woman's 2 kids to file a wrongful death. And remember, he's a lawyer at one of the top law firms in that area. He convinced her 2 kids, Gloria was her name, to file a wrongful death lawsuit against him because she died on her property. They had no idea that they won $4 million in that settlement, and it went into Alex Murdoch's pocket.
Hell yeah.
So basically...
Sorry, hell no.
No. Basically, the mom died, and then he convinces them to take legal action against him and pockets that money along with money of tons of other settlements, because he said he had like a $20,000 a week drug habit. Bitch, no. You couldn't spend $20,000 a week on drugs if you tried. You know, like, I would believe $5,000.
That's like a good...
I mean,
I haven't tried to spend...
No, but like 20,000 would be hard for even like oxys that are like high dosage.
Gotcha.
I mean, the way he set up a roadside murder, an attempted murder that was all pre-planned, he paid for it to happen. It's just wild.
Why does this shit only happen in America?
Don't fuck with me. I can't.
No, I'm kind of curious.
Actually, you're right. It probably does.
I mean, there's like weird, I feel like, murders in other countries. Like, obviously, like, there was like, I mean, I remember like some weird one in Japan where they like tried to hide the body in like a concrete wall or some shit.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like for the most part, this is like a very American thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the white privilege thing, I think. Like, just like never having to take consequences for any of your actions.
But you don't think there's some amount of that in Europe too, in terms of like...
No, I do. I just can't speak their language, so I have no idea what the fuck they're saying.
That's what it is. Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's so interesting that like these people can find each other even before the internet existed, whether it be they both have similar ideology, they were coerced into having a certain set of beliefs, or they literally, like, the law of attraction brought these 2 psycho motherfuckers together and they were like, okay, we're gonna fuck all day and then go murder 12 people at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fucking weird. You know?
And you can't get over that?
No, I can't get over that. And I mean, there's so much more I can't get over, but I feel like we have a good amount of footage right now. So I am going to say goodbye because I'm sure you're sick of hearing me scream at your ass about things that I can't get over. We will have more episodes coming soon. You can subscribe to I'm Still Not Over It, a Daniel Pants production, in cooperation with Beige Video. And thank you so much, Teo and Michelle. Do you want to plug your social medias? Well, I'll plug mine first. Daniel Pants with 2 S's on TikTok and Instagram. Follow me there, Daniel Pants.
TT Rap, that's TEERAPP on Instagram. And that's really all I do. I'm terrible at social media, as both of you can attest to.
Yes, that is correct. And you can find me at Michelle Martinelli.
Yep, and your TikTok is different, though.
Yes, my TikTok's different.
It's loose, like apple juice.
Yes, Michelle Martinelli was taken, so it's My Bell Apple Juice.
My Bell Apple Juice.
Michelle, like My Bell, and Apple Juice Martinelli.
And we'll get all those put on the screen for you guys. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And don't run into any of these psychopaths that happen to just find each other and, you know.
Or the aliens.
Life of crime. I mean, it kind of would be fun.
Yeah.
The aliens, I feel like, save us from that shit. Not just the nuclear weapons, but like all of this. Step in if you have that technology.
What are you taking right now?
I mean,
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm sober.